Where is it? Falling everywhere. Oh, how's it going, guys? Sitting here trying to build a coil, and, well, here, let's do it this way so not everything falls out, just some of it. How many of us have, built kits like this, where there's any number of screwdrivers and drill bits and things falling out and frustrations happening? You got all these tiny little drill bits, they're not marked. No clue what size they are, and killing your laptop when you drop them off. Let's see, there's always the ever famous little blue screwdriver. Does anybody actually know what size this is? Side note, it's a 1.5 millimeter. You got your little eyeglass screwdrivers. I wish there was an easy way to build a coil and know what size it is. Well, you've got your nice little tweaker set like this where it's marked out, but I find that a lot of times, especially with those flathead ones, the blades on the tip actually come out past the size of the barrel. So it doesn't always work. It's going to wreck your coil when you pull it out. And then you kind of sort of, for most atomizers, need that Phillips head to screw it in. So trying to hold your coil in there and screw it in with the same screwdriver doesn't work. Well, you're still going to need your screwdrivers because you always need your screwdrivers for your Addy. There is a solution. It's simple. It is this. This tiny little bar of magic bliss. See if I can get the name for you. Coil Master. This is the Coil Master coiling tool. Available at coil-master, coil-master.net. You can pick one of these up. This one is actually the version 2. I never got a chance to get the version 1, although from what I understand, it was kind of difficult because things weren't really marked too well. I have yet to get the version 3, and, well, I plan on getting one. So when I get one, I'll do a review and on that one. But for now, I've got the version 2. Nice thing about the version 2 is it builds 5 different size coils. All the way from, let's see, your 1.0 millimeter all the way up to your 3.0 millimeter in 0.5 increments. So that's 1 millimeter, 1.5 millimeter, 2 millimeter, 2.5 millimeter, and 3 millimeter. So yeah, 1 millimeter, 1.5, 2, 2.5, and 3. I know, it looks weird, it looks wonky. I'll show you what all it comes with. Okay, it comes with, the standard body bar here. It'll come pre-installed with one of the jigs inside of it and a cap on top of it. Along with that, you get 4 more of these. This is your cap. Yes, there's a little nut there. I'll show you what that's for. And your bar. The top portion of the bar is where you'll actually wrap your coil. Or rather, it will wrap your coil. Virtually no work for you. Alright. And it also comes with the magic blue screwdriver. But it's not a flathead. It's not a Phillips. It's a hex. It's an Allen wrench driver. That, there we go, is for that little nut on the top. Let's go ahead and remove the nut off of this one. Oh, I dropped my driver. And quite honestly, the beauty of this device is its simplicity. It is simple. There's only a couple of pieces, and it works phenomenally. Clean that up so you can see. Now, if you notice, there are 2 different holes. They're slightly closer and far away from that center hole than the other. This one here is slightly closer. This one here is slightly further away. There's a reason for that. I found that reason. After much trial and error, I found out that it's not for, doing a coil to the left or a coil to the right, counterclockwise and clockwise, but rather for the size of your wire. For your thinner wires, your 32s, your 30s, things like that, you want to use the post that's closer to the center. For your wire that's thicker, you want to use the post that's closer to the outside. Heck, at first I thought, the further out you brought the nut, the better it would work for different gauge wires. I was wrong. Oh, I ruined so many coils. Either way, I'm going to demonstrate for you how it works. Let's see, I have this one set up for far away. So that'll be your thicker wire. The thickest wire I've got on hand right now is 24 gauge Canthal. Let's see if I can get you. Let's see, nice thick 24 gauge Canthal. We're going to take that. There's a little hole on the side. It's kind of angled. That brings it up and up through the top cap. Actually, before we get into that, I'll show you how that hole gets into the top cap. Alright, that's going to be your body without the top cap, or without the pole in it. This is your pole. Nice thing about your pole is just like your cap, your pole is engraved with its size. You can't really see that because it's engraved into the bright metal, but it says 3.0 millimeter. So, you take this, unscrew that top cap. Beautiful threading on that. Take your pole, put it into the top cap, as such. Then you screw your top cap back onto the body. And there's your jig. Take your Canthal, and if I can do this backwards, feed it up through that slanted line, or that slanted hole, and it feeds it right out. Now I'm going to waste a lot of Canthal here, but that's alright. I don't mind doing this because this is a product I truly believe in. What I normally do is right there where it goes into the hole, I hold that and I hold it down at the bottom so I know, kind of where my wire starts its coil. Then what you do is you take your top cap. And it doesn't matter, if you put it on with that little nut down at the bottom or that little nut up at the top. It really doesn't matter because you can do left or right hand turns with this. Now, you go ahead and start your wrap. You don't have to push the top cap towards the body. It kind of does everything, on its own as it will. We'll do, like I said, I normally keep my wire down at the very bottom. What do you think? We'll say 5 wraps of 24. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I normally give it a little snug twist. There we go. Now, for those of you out there who are coil perfectionists and have to have everything snugged up and nice and tight and arranged, what I'll normally do is put it, after you pull it through that slanted hole and pull the coil completely out, I'll put it back on, take that top cap again and kind of squish it down and compress it. And then bring both leads to the bottom, flip it around, do it again, squish it down nice and tight, and kind of bring both leads down to the bottom so they're nice and straight, because yes, I am a coil perfectionist. And boom, there you go. Nice, beautiful, tight, perfect coil in seconds. Now, that took me probably 5 times longer than it normally does, simply because I was doing it all on video and doing it slower. Now, let's go ahead and switch over and go with some thinner wire. So, remember how we do this. That nut, take your little Allen driver, and simply unscrew it. Remember which hole that nut came out of, because you're going to go to the opposite hole. My nut hole was on the top, so now I'm going down to the one on the bottom. Go ahead and twist that in. You only need it finger snug. You don't need to torque down on that. It's not going to go anywhere. Oh me, oh my. I had a strand of 30 gauge Canthal. Oh, there it is. It fell to the floor. Alright. 30 gauge Canthal, if you can almost see it. Yeah. The bane of everybody's existence. 30 gauge Canthal. As thin and sharp as a needle, and as difficult to work with as a hair. So, we're going to get that nice and straightened out because, well, again, I'm a wire perfectionist. But oddly enough, I don't do the really odd builds, the Clapton coils, things like that. The most I'll do is twisted 30 gauge. So, again, get your little slotted hole there, and you feed your wire straight up through it. And hold it down. I hold it right there, right here at the, lined up with the hole. Now remember, this is the 3mm bar. This is the biggest bar that the version 2 comes with. Same cap, just moved the screw. We're going to go, again, 5 wraps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Give it a nice little push. Push that wire out a little bit, feed it out. Hold the coil ever so gently because it's 30 gauge. Put it back on that bar. Give it a nice little squishy squish. Hold it there. Bend the leg down to make it nice and even. And bring both legs. Nice thing about this is you can kind of hold that coil, give it a little snug tug on both sides. And of course, 30 gauge Canthal, springy, springy, springy. But there you go. Nice, beautiful, clean, 5 wrap, 30 gauge, 3mm coil. No muss, no fuss, no blood on my fingers. Because, let's face it, we've all had that instance. We're wrapping and wrapping. Ow! Got stabbed with that Canthal. That hurts. Now, what all does the kit come with? The version 2 kit comes with I gotta hold it here so nothing falls. Oh, and that tried to fall. All of that. That's your screwdriver, 4 caps, 4 bars on their own, 1 build bar with a wrapping bar already inside of it, and the corresponding cap. It doesn't come with a bag or anything else. I advise you find a small little stuff sack or whatever, and use that. With me, my build case that I built it. It was an old Dremel case, and it had all that foam in there. So I've just taken razor blades and cut out different slots for everything. I was able to manage to fit this all in there so it stays nice and tight. But yeah, I advise getting like a little stuff bag or something like that. That's what a lot of people do. Oh, and here I've got a 3mm 28 gauge, no 26 gauge wrap, and it's the power of a coil master coil. It's real nice. Now, a lot of us who've been wrapping on by hand, we've learned to let that kanthal slide through our fingers as we're doing it. A lot of the newbies out there kind of pinch it and bend it as they're going, and you get the kinks in the wire, and that gives you your hot spots. That's where you start popping coils, things like that. With the Coil Master wire, there's none of that. It's a nice, smooth, continuous flow on that coil. So you don't get those hot spots and those kinks and those little snags that you would on, wrapping on a drill bit. I'm going to tell you now, the very first coil I ever wrapped by hand, I wrapped on an Allen wrench. I didn't have any drill bits at the time. I wanted to build a coil. I wrapped it on an Allen wrench. That thing was just a pain in the tail to work with. And really didn't get a very good consistent vape off of it. And the wire was all kinky and just bent. That, however, that is beautiful. So, my advice, spend a couple of bucks. I picked mine up at Vapor Slam down in Winston-Salem, North Carolina for $10 for the version 2. Now the version 3 is out. It's slightly more expensive, but they've done some major work to make it better. One of the few complaints I have about this is it's real slick. I wouldn't mind there being some kind of like hatch mark or something on there to hold while you're working. That way it's not so slick. Or maybe have a matte finish instead of a glossy. But again, that's personal taste. Something to hold all the accoutrement on would be real nice. But I've got to say, I've probably saved tens, if not hundreds, of hours of my life using this coil over the last few months, as opposed to, tens of hours of my life over the last few months using this coil jig, as opposed to, wrapping by hand on a drill bit. I will say, though, I've probably saved feet upon feet of kanthal. Because when I'm building, granted, on this demo, I left some really, really long legs on there, but that was to show, just how you're working with it. Ordinarily, whenever I do it, I end up getting it pretty much, right at the length I need. The more you use it, the more you work with it, the more you'll learn just how much kanthal you need for each application. Or for some people, nichrome, titanium, what have you. All I work with is kanthal. But I'm going to have to say, Coil Master, you have outdone yourself with this, and I really, really, really look forward to getting my hands on the version 3 and playing with that and seeing what the upgrades are like. And that's the other thing. Coil Master is now putting out a complete build kit. And, I mean, that's got everything from the Coil Master tool to flush cut wire cutters, needle nose pliers, ceramic tweezers, needle nose tweezers, well, needle nose angle tweezers. It's got an ohm tester in there. It's got a little plastic box. I'm not sure. No, I don't think that's for holding the Coil Master, the Coil Master tool, because it's actually got its own little separate space in there for it. Oh, I want to say there's more in there. Oh, there's a bit driver in there, which I think comes with like 6 or 8 different bits for it. Either way, that looks fun. I'm hoping to get one of those at some point. But all in all, I've got to say this has got to be one of the most important things I've ever bought, in my vaping experience. I've been vaping for over a year now, and aside from my mods and my addies, this coil tool has got to have been the most important purchase I've made. And I'm glad I went with the Coil Master. I looked at a couple of the other ones. They're just so convoluted and, well, pain in the ass looking that they scared me away from it. I said, no, I'll just keep wrapping by hand. And then I saw this one. And I'm very minimalist. I'm very, small. Well, small hassle. I like things that don't take a lot of hassle. And that's what this is. As I said earlier, the beauty is in the simplicity. You've got a body and a post, a cap and a screw. You put it all together, and what does it do? It makes a coil. And it makes a beautiful coil. So, this has replaced all of this, and any number of other random odds and ends that I used to wrap on. This one simple tool. And because of the different sizes, I always know what size my coil is going to be, and I'm able to, choose different sizes for different applications. I used to be afraid to, wrap coils aside from the couple that I was absolutely certain on, for the simple fact I didn't know what size the item I was wrapping on it was. Now I know that this bar, is a 2.5 millimeter bar. It will always be a 2.5 millimeter bar. This one is the 2 millimeter bar. It will always be the 2 millimeter bar. This one, this tiny itty bitty baby thing, is the 1 millimeter bar. It will always be that. I will always get the same interior diameter on my coil, no matter what. So now I can go to things like Coil Toy and Steam Engine, the online calculators for coil building, and know when I put in my measurements that I truly am getting an interior diameter of 1 millimeter all the way up to 3 millimeter, and can trust what I get out of those tools for building my coils. I couldn't do that when I was wrapping on various sized drill bits that I couldn't remember what size they are because they're not marked, or eyeglass screwdrivers, or the random blue screwdriver. Even the tweaker screwdrivers because if you're wrapping on that flathead, a lot of times the blade is thicker than the body. It'll distort your coil when it comes out. So, yeah, especially for the new vapors. Again, remember, this is the New Vapor channel. It is the New Vapor Network on the New Vapor channel. I'm all about the new vapors. If you are just getting into coil building, get one of these. It will save you so much time, so much hassle, so much wasted wire, and give you an accurate build. You know what? Well, that 3mm ain't going to do much for you, but where did it go? That 1mm bar, if you're still vaping on a tank, like, you know, the Pro Tank 2, the Aero Tank, things like that, that's going to be just about the perfect size. That or the 1.5mm are going to be just about the perfect size for rewrapping those, you know, those coil heads. My 3mm, well, actually that's 2.5. My 3mm is beautiful for wrapping big old coils on my Mutation X clone. I love my Coil Master tool. I can't wait to get the version 3 because it goes up to that 4mm. And at that point, you know, macro coils all the way. But, you know, this tool is good for everybody from the brand new novice baby vapor all the way up, you know, to the guys doing, you know, the 8 coil builds with, you know, Clapton and Dragon wire and whatever, and, you know, things that I'll never even get into. This tool is a tool for the people. It works for everyone, for every application that I've come up with. I've run 30 gauge twisted wire through here and it wrapped beautifully. And that was wire that I wrapped by hand. Just, you know, took 2 pieces of Kanthal, 30 gauge, at the same length, put them into my fiance's beading tool, jewelry making tool called a wire twister. And I put it in both sides, and I twisted it and made this long twisted rope of Kanthal. Ran it through, you know, just on a lark, because I'd always wrapped it on by hand, and it ripped my hands up. I ran it through the Coil Master tool on a lark, thinking, I'm gonna finally beat the Coil Master. I'm gonna get this thing bound up. And nope, it slid right through there like, yeah, a hot knife through butter, and it wrapped the most beautiful coil. So I'm gonna have to say, all in all, the Coil Master tool works. It does what it's supposed to do. There's no extra fiddling with it. There's no muss. There's no fuss. There's very little waste once you get used to it. And honestly, you'll get used to it within the first 8 coils. Or at least I did. I love this thing. I will not go back to wrapping by hand unless I absolutely have to. If I've got a Coil Master tool around me, that's what I'm going to use. As always, I am New Vapor from the New Vapor Network on the New Vapor channel. Vape responsibly. Have a great day.